Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Start Small, Think Big podcast brought to you by Digital Meld. My name is Brad Groux, co-founder and CEO of Digital Meld.
Thank you, Brad. My name is Michael Elliott. I've been in the digital marketing space for 14 years, entirely self-taught. I've diversified quite a lot. We'll jump into that during this podcast, but thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Michael he's growing an online brand right now. He's got a great YouTube channel where he likes to share AI and automation with folks and how they can, like what we say, punch above their weight class. And so I think it'll be a great conversation as he's began his journey to kind of do what we do, kind of spread the knowledge and be evangelists of these great technologies and letting folks know that if we can do it, you can do it. And so I think we're going to have a great conversation with you. So yeah, Michael, thanks for being on the podcast. Why don't you just take a couple minutes, give folks a little bit of background about yourself, how you got to where you were, what you've been doing, previously in your career, those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. So like I say, I'm 33. I've been in the digital marketing arena for 14 years, entirely self-taught from an agent. I went into the agency perspective at the ground level, and it was not a good agency for education, but you were in at the deep end and you learn. My degree was basically worthless. I started literally from the ground up. And after leaving the agency, now I manage 10 million, 12 million in Google ad spend every single month. The short version of how I got here is I became a dad at 18. The relationship fell apart. I had to figure things out really quickly. I hit a 6-month depression that was real bad. And like where I hit the floor, the only thing I lived for was seeing my daughter 2 days a week. And after that, which I think is the catalyst and where the pain comes from, like now being friends with that pain is what helps me power and the fuel for me every day. But yeah, I worked at the agency, outgrew it and decided that I wanted my own thing. And that's where I built AdTrain, which is my PPC agency. It's on and off, but it's been a Google Premier Partner agency. The return on investment from that, I've diversified. I own a caravan park with the profits from that agency. And I run multiple 7-figure businesses now, including AI automation agency, a holiday home trade company in the UK. And yeah, here's the thing that I guess probably most people won't tell you. Like I've had clients cancel when I was smaller and watch like 25% of my revenue just disappear overnight. And the thing is with stuff like that is that that'll teach you exactly what matters versus what's noise when it comes to running a business. And my final point would be after that intro, why am I not pivoting to AI, but why am I including it in AI? Well, I've got 2 daughters and, I didn't build all of this, what I've built together now to be chained to a laptop for 80 hours a week. So automation is how I stay present at home whilst I run the businesses. I work hard, don't get me wrong, but that's why. And the fact that it's obviously the future, but there's a couple of reasons why I dived into that.
Yeah, thank you for that candid background and talking about the struggles. I think is really important because we all kind of go through those lulls and those struggles. And I think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think again, what these tools help you do is to take control of your life. Like you said, you don't want to be working 80 hours a week. So how can you automate the menial tasks to have more meaningful time? Right, that's the overall goal. And it's funny you mentioned you had a caravan park because I literally this morning I was in my RV. We call them RV over here in the States, but at the lake. I go with my family every year, and so I drove 2 hours to get here this morning. So it's pretty funny that you have a caravan park. Because I was just at an RV park not 2 hours ago here in Lake Livingston in Texas. Yeah, and so what made you see the writing on the wall with Can you talk about how you got started with automation, when that came about, and why you thought like now was the time?
Well, I think getting all my ducks in a row from a perspective of the PPC agency got to a point where I was working on the business instead of working in it. So it was like time freed up naturally. I started from the very bottom. And when I say like, when I quit the agency, I had £3,000 in the bank account. I had a 4-month-old baby. There was no income, no revenue, nothing. I literally just jumped straight in at the deep end. Like there was no backup plan. It had to work. It was like, this is the only way I'm out. But I just got sick and tired of it. It just felt right at that moment. And I don't really know why, but I think it comes from that pain of being like at the edge. Like I was at the edge when I was 18, when I was depressed and like when I felt like I'd lost everything. So I was never scared to go back there because I've been there before. Like it's like I know what it's like. So I kind of, with that evolution and my vacation of investments being successful, was like, do you know what? I'm going to probably realistically, AI's been around for years, but like realistically, AI's been mainstream for like what, probably 3.5 years now, 4 years maybe. Like it's been mainstream for that. About 2.5 to 3 years ago, I really started to use it for day-to-day tasks, like your dad would, where he goes and asks questions about this or this sports game or this. I've got this. How do I set this up? And I started to realize by then educating myself, knowing being in the digital arena myself, that AI was actually significantly more powerful than that. The leaps made from like ChatGPT 3 to like Opus now in Claude, like the difference in between those two things is like tremendous. What you can actually do now in comparison to then is crazy. But I was just fed up of the nonsense from gurus in the space. I don't like gatekeepers. I don't like gatekeepers around me. If you're a gatekeeper, I don't want you around me. Everyone is kind of selling a dream. Nobody's showing the boring stuff that actually makes you money, really. Right. And after closing, I've closed over 100 million deals in my career. I realized that the tactics that move the needle in terms of AI aren't that complicated, right? They're not sexy. There's nothing to them. It's things like that your granddad would have built a business with. Like how quickly can you follow up with a lead? Like, qualifying them before wasting your time having an hour's physical meeting with somebody that is never going to buy. AI just lets you do the things that you used to have to hire people to do, and you can do it much more efficiently now. So when it comes down to that, I learned from my audience, which was my PPC client base, of what was necessary from a business perspective, and have now ended up working with some of the largest businesses in the world implementing AI strategies for them. So I think it was a natural evolution. If you're in a digital arena and you've got your eyes open, you can clearly see what's been happening with AI. Me being a good speaker and being in the way that I actually operate and wanting to share knowledge with people to give them the power, I think that's what led me down. But then also transparently, obviously the opportunity financially from an AI perspective is massive. That is, I have to say, I am a businessman as well. But yeah, sharing with the YouTube stuff particularly is definitely 100% down to the fact that I want people to look at somebody and actually see somebody who just says it as it is and tells you the truth about it. What's a fad, what's not? Because there's a new AI tool every 32 seconds. Like, well, where do you hedge your bets? That's what I try and educate people on.
So yeah, so I kind of want to build on that a little bit because, again, much like we started this podcast, I think in the same way that you likely started your YouTube channel, is like you just wanted to let people know that they can do this, and then again, you were frustrated by the information that was out there, and that was kind of what we did. Can you just talk to us about that journey and how, because it isn't, you don't grow overnight, right? It's a grind, right? You know what I mean? Like I think I was listening to someone the other day, and basically, from a podcast perspective, you don't even hit your stride to like episode 150. And we're like in the mid 30s right now. So, and I think from YouTube, that's kind of the same thing. Mr. Beast, the largest guy in the world, for 2 years, he made videos and nobody watched them. What made you, dedicate a great portion of your time to being an evangelist and really not seeing returns on that? Let's be honest, if the first videos don't make any money, all right, they cost you money more than they make you money. So what made you, strike out and want to be that evangelist?
I think for me, it was because I was digesting information from people, and then I could smell things that were just not right. Like everybody's telling you, and I'm not saying that this isn't going to be the route that I go eventually or whatever, but it'll be based off of facts and transparency. Everyone's trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you a course. They're trying to sell you this, they're trying to sell you that. I spend all of my hours creating content for people to sell them nothing. So if you're watching me and listening to me, it's because I want to share the information with you. Like what made me do that is because I see, like with all the businesses that I manage from a PPC perspective, they are all having conversations about AI. And when they do come up in conversation, I see them all having the same problem. Like one person has been told this, one person has been told that, one person has been told this. The truth of the matter is that it's not about what tool you use. It's not about what actually is the specific vehicle you use to get there. It's what the result and the outcome is. And how easy it is to save you 20 hours a week is mind-boggling in 2025/26 that we're going to head into shortly. So, and people don't think that it is. People still think that waking up every day and, not having your meetings summarized or not getting automated alerts when invoices are overdue or when there's been a high quality inquiry come through, it sits there for 48 hours or 7 hours until the sales rep can finally get on the phone to them. People don't think these things can be taken care of, and taken care of as if better than a human, if you like. And I'm telling you now, the streamlining of the efficiency that you can add to your business, it doesn't replace the human element. You need that to close them. But what I'm telling you is that, like, I saw that from all these businesses, and I was like, no, I can't have that on my watch. Like, I know what is happening. I know where to implement. Focus on things like speed to lead, churn risk detection, reactivation of your client base. Focus on the things that move the needle, the bottom line, not generating a nice, cute graphic that's got a cat on it. Like, and I'm not saying that I've got videos on Nano Banana Pro. I don't want anyone who may have seen videos like that to say that, like, I'm contradicting myself. What I'm telling you is, when it comes to business, owning multiple 7-figure companies and speaking to 8-9-figure companies that I work with from a PPC perspective, as in managing their ad spend, I saw all the problems. And then when I was watching people speak about it, I just saw people that were trying to just sell people on stuff. And I was like, there's a gap here for somewhere who's going to come and tell them as it is. And that's it. And yeah, will I monetize it eventually? Yeah, I will do. Like, I'm a businessman. But I guarantee you that whatever route I go down later will be something that provides insane value. And I'm in a very unique position because I can not only automate all of your business, I can also generate all of the leads for your business as well. And that is something that not every AI guru can say. So yeah, if I touch one person, I'm happy. I'm very new in my YouTube journey. This is not something that, like, I'm from the business experience. What I can tell people is that, like, unless you hit a crypto pump, nothing happens overnight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything is building towards something. Now, I know if I sit here and I pump out 2 videos a week or 3 videos a week for 2 years, I know that I will then have distribution to be able to monetize something. And I have the foresight and the clarity as a businessman to be able to see that. And I understand that that is the way that it goes. Once you have distribution, you can then do whatever you want with it. But the main core learning, in full transparency, the main core reason for it is to try and cut through the noise for people and give them something that they can relate to. Because I speak to people like I speak to you now. How I talk to you now is how I would speak to you if I met you in the street. It's nothing to do with being on a podcast. And too many people are giving you this value, but then asking you for X. And I just, yeah, I won't name names, but I saw a few things and I was like, no, like, that's not the way that I would educate people.
Yeah, that really hits home for us because that's kind of why we started this podcast. Other than our company name in the top corner, we don't sell anything. We don't, at the end, we don't pitch anything. We don't say those sorts. We're here to help. I'm here to have conversations and learn new things from really cool people doing really cool things. People's much smarter than myself. I've always been told, be the dumbest person in the room, and that's been my life goal, is always be the dumbest person in the room, because I'm going to learn something new if I'm the dumbest person in the room. So I love having conversations. And I love being that evangelist. And it is, whenever you see someone get that aha moment, or the light bulb starts going off, and they have so many new ways that they can unlock their full potential, that makes it all worthwhile, right? Like, yeah, the monetary aspect of it, we're all businessmen, is really great. But I think to be fulfilled and know that you taught something to someone is really, really great. If I had my way, I would be an evangelist all day. I wouldn't have to worry about selling, wouldn't have to worry about delivering to my customers, wouldn't have to worry about all those sorts of things, because that's what I find most fulfillment in. But I think it's really important. I spend about 20% of my time on this podcast. I wish that was even more. And I wish, I'm jealous of the Joe Rogans of the world, who can just literally just have conversations with the coolest people in the world and see where it goes, for 2 or 3 hours at a time. So with that in mind, can you just talk about how maybe your perspective of your business and how you've done things has kind of pivoted or grown or shifted a little bit because of your interactions with a community as a whole? Because I know as ours has, from people who have reached out from the podcast, like, oh, I didn't even think about things that way. Can you just talk about if you've had those kind of aha moments as they have?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention it, because I actually had one last night. And again, it's not about finances. It is to educate, the main goal. But like, somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn yesterday about sponsoring a YouTube video, like paid sponsorship for the YouTube video. And what I was saying is, that was like one of my aha moments of, like, I didn't even think about that. Like, that wasn't something that I know that they happen, but I never even thought about it. But rolling it back to, like, actually the business, what I want people to, their aha moment to be, which is what mine was when I did it initially, it's like, they'll sit, and why the YouTube channel started is They'll sit down, they'll watch 43 videos on different tools and how to build something different, and they will do absolutely nothing. They're just watching, digesting. And that's okay. I watch YouTube all the time, whether it be about the Battle of Stalingrad in the World War or whether it be about NAN, it doesn't matter. I watch and digest content to learn and educate myself. I do it all the time, right? It doesn't make a difference. But when it comes down to that aha moment, it was like, for me, it was the first time like I built an automation, like maybe like a calendar workflow or like, you know, a summarizer for like my Fireflies going into my Slack. Something so basic that took me like it took me a little bit of time to get this right, but going way back when. But it took a little bit of time to get it right. And then I was like, my days. So now every meeting I have is going to have Fireflies attached, but then I get a summary and then I get my actionables and then they get loaded to ClickUp as well so that I know what tasks I need to do. That's just saved me 5-10 hours a week. And like that moment when you hit that as a business or like as an individual like I did, that's when it suddenly clicks. And that's why my advice to people is, and I hope I'm answering your question correctly here, but my advice to everyone is like, pick one tool. I'd probably say make.com for beginners because it's easier, but NAN2 has just launched. It is a little bit easier, but there's so many direct integrations. Build something boring. Just have fun with it. Build a daily calendar summary like that. It's your email every morning, right? This is a fact. My 14-year-old daughter has built flows because I bring her up here and I'm like, look how easy this is. And these are the tools that we use. We use Google Calendar and this is an email. We need it to send this. Let's do it. And just let it go. And it wasn't perfect when she did it. No, it wasn't. She can't write prompts. She doesn't know these things. The point is, though, is that like your aha moment will be when you see AI actually make a difference for the first time. And that will never happen unless you actually take action doing it. So that was, the biggest shift for me was trying to work even less in the business and start working on it. Sounds obvious, but obviously that was the bottleneck for years. You are your own bottleneck in your own business. AI is the I don't want to say the savior because it's not a silver bullet, but it is something that it empowers you massively in business to do so.
Yeah, those again great insights. You're speaking our language. The whole point of the name of this podcast, Start Small, Think Big, is that exact thing you're talking about. We tell people automate the thing that you spend 5 minutes on every day that you wish you could automate. That's where whenever I go talk to a customer for a first time, that's what I'm saying. That's what we need. We need to get the ball rolling. We need to get those low hanging fruit. We need to gain momentum. And once you gain momentum, you're going to come up with far more use cases than I could have ever imagined because you understand your business more than I ever could because you have 20, 25 years in your business. I just know the tools and I know the possibilities from those sorts of things. Again, the first time I ever automated anything, it was using Microsoft Power Automate. It was Microsoft Flow back then, but Power Automate to automate CSV to a SharePoint list. Like that was the first thing I ever really automated. And that started my journey 2016, 2017-ish, and kind of just it's spearheaded from there. I didn't know anything about AI back then. I didn't know anything about automation outside of just basic scripts, the PowerShell scripts of back in the day. And then here I am today, being a thought leader in the AI space because I was just curious. I just said, hey, I'm doing this and it's manual and I hate it. Let's see if we can automate it. And I think everybody should take that. Microsoft released what they call their Power Platform. And when they did, they said, they created a term citizen developers because everybody should be a developer moving forward. Everybody should think automation first. If you do something repetitively, see if you can automate it and use these tools like ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or any of those and say, hey, I'm doing this manual process and explain the process and say, are there ways I can automate the process or at least portions of that process? Maybe if you can automate 60% of the process, that still saves you 60% of your time. So it's great that again, one of the reasons I love having conversations with folks like yourself is because this is what we've been echoing for months and months and months to people, and they just hear, hey, it's happening, in England, it's happening across the world, it's happening everywhere. There's no magic bullet, like you say. It is just putting in the work, and it's KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Just start small, think big. Like any saying you want to say to kind of get nudge people in that direction. So.
AI, sorry to just like kind of
go ahead.
It. Yeah, it wasn't intentional, but like AI like now is just so accessible, and the thing is it's so cheap. It's like even when you use paid models, they're so relatively cheap. It depends on what you're doing, obviously, and what scale. But like there is no excuse. Like I could, like even if you're trying to get into it, like my dad could automate an automation that went from Sky Sports and every morning sent him some information about Sheffield Wednesday, the football club, about what had happened if there was any new info. And it's an automation, right? That would save him the 2 minutes it takes him to go to that Sky Sports website, find the Sheffield Wednesday section, and see the news. And I always say it like that to people. Like I use that sort of analogy. Things that, because if you're like a very, very new entrepreneur to AI and like you really don't know, I would always start building something that was fun, quote unquote fun. Like don't because everyone's like, oh, what's my biggest business problem? That if you're wanting to build it, just see how it works first by getting an understanding and a grasp of the tools. Or obviously you can outsource it to people like myself. But if I'm contrarian for a second, most of what you're hearing about AI is designed to sell you something. The fundamentals of business haven't changed. AI is just now the leverage, it's the tool. So, now matters the most because the tools are finally good enough, they're finally cheap enough that even a solo operator can compete with companies that are 10 times their size. That is genuinely the new gap. Okay. And that's what I think is the difference now between now and 3 years ago. You couldn't do that now. I can launch and ship a SaaS business now in 48 hours. Like, that is insane. You could never do that before. It would have took you 6 months to get a first dev draft through the door to see. Maybe a bit shorter than that, depending on what SaaS it is. But the point being is that there's no more barrier of entry anymore. It's all knowledge and understanding. And you don't even have to be the professional like me who implements the AI systems. If you just take your business, find out what your toothache is, and then go and find somebody who can solve it and watch what happens to your bottom line and your blessings. Because my story is this. One of my businesses, which is a caravan trade company, you mentioned the RV. So my caravan park is half statics. So they're physically there. They stay there. They don't move. The other half of it is RVs. As people bring them down. When it comes down to the other arm of that business, which is nothing to do with the site, it's buying and selling of RVs effectively. Well, we sell statics, but RVs, you could do it with RVs. It's exactly the same thing. Tourers, as they call them here, which is, well, they're different. RVs are different to tourers, but the touring caravans here. And what I'm saying to the reason for all this waffle around caravans and everything about that, when we're meant to be talking about AI, is this. It's that we've got a caravan company. So we have a business, forget this caravan company. We have a business operating, handling between 600 and 800 leads per month, making multiple seven figures every year. That's revenue, not profit, but multiple seven figures every year. And we have one sales rep. You find me another business on planet Earth that has a 1 to 800 inquiry ratio for sales reps. I bet there's not many. And the reason for that is because AI qualifies all of the tire kickers and 30% of them go straight in the bin, like they're going down the nurturing funnel. Then the other 50% that sit in the middle that are like, are these the right fit? Can we buy this? Do they have realistic expectations? Are they the right fit for the business? Those are all nurtured using two-way SMS and email funnels. So the sales rep doesn't have to do anything. He literally just looks at the screen and he doesn't have to, but he can just look at the screen and watch in real time. SMSs flying out the door, qualification of leads. And whenever there is a lead that hits a certain threshold of what we've set, that uploads photos of their caravan or RV or whatever, Toro, whatever you want to call it, because that's a key point in our business, which is something you have to find for your own company. But that's a key point for us. If they upload photos, it means they're serious. At that point, he gets a text message himself that says there is an inquiry that has uploaded photos and that they are ready to have a conversation with you. And that happens that's one person for 800 leads. Yes, he spends all of his day on the phone closing these deals. Yes, he does do that. However, the point is that the leverage all comes from AI. It's all from using AI. We would not have been able to do that 4 years ago. So that's the difference.
Yeah, again, that's something that we kind of do as well. We utilize AI to weed out and to hone in on scraping the web for businesses in a certain industry, a certain skill set, a certain size. We focus on mid market, so under $1 billion and then under 1,000 employees. That's the world we live in because we like that because the decision makers are generally just a door knock away. You don't have to go through 17 layers of leadership. So helping and get them on board and make those changes and revolutionize their business is really important. So AI has revolutionized how we gather information about businesses for sure, and the outlook and leads and things too. And we have one one full-time sales rep. We have a couple of part-times that help as well, but like we have one full-time sales rep. Like you said, he handles hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and he's only able to do that because of AI. Does a lot of the research, does a lot of the vetting, and then he can focus on the clients that we think are the most valuable. And it is worth every penny to put that in there. So if you have a marketing team, if you have you have a sales team, you should be leveraging these tools. It's one of the easier pipelines to build out. And HubSpot and other Salesforce, they have these kind of like baked in. But again, that's like a 70% there. The last 30% is going to be what we say is your secret sauce of your business and how you need to cater your business. Like being a caravan, like once they upload photos, that's real. Like you can't teach HubSpot that. You have to know that inherently. So that's great. How we've talked about how you're able to help these businesses transform, but the biggest thing is like a lot of business leaders, especially in the United States, they don't know that they have a problem they even need to solve.
Yeah.
And we try to convince them before it's too late in 2 or 3 years when all their competitors are using these tools. Hey, you need to get in now. You need to lay that foundation now. You may not see the rewards right away, but you need to start laying that foundation now and, get your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, your process flows documented, those sorts of things. How do you sell? What have you seen from the friction for that perspective? And how can you encourage business leaders who may be listening as like, hey, take the leap, start with a small pilot project, something along those lines?
So, yeah, I mean, when it comes down to business leaders who won't take that leap, I'm just going to use this with you, and it's not going to be comfortable maybe, but it is the truth. What I would say to you is this, is that because of like the gap I just mentioned of the one person being able to compete with somebody 10 times its size, there's businesses that aren't even created yet in your industry that could surpass you within the next 3 years if you don't automate your business. And that is a fact. Because as long as they're investor backed and they have the funds to be able to market it your way, they will take customers straight out of your mouth. So I don't say it to be aggressive. I say it to make it hit home and understand that your competitors are looking at this now. Not all of them, but some of them are sat there now with AI teams like myself, like Brad's team, whatever, sat there looking at how they can automate their business to streamline efficiency, cut costs on overheads of staff. And I would severely urge you, to at least sit down with an AI consultant or somebody in your team if you've got anybody who actually knows. It's so important that you have somebody who's been there and done it, because people like when in unregulated industries like this, people can just pop up and say, "Hey, I've been doing AI," and misguide you. You have to look at the pain points. Look at your sales funnel. The sales funnel problems have always been the same. I always use this example, and I'll stick with it here. Your speed to lead. How long does it take you to get back to an inquiry? Well, according to like generalized research, and I don't know where I got this figure from, like, so I don't want to quote it properly, but I do a lot of quoting from my videos using Comet, using, Perplexity to deep research into different researchers and analysis. And if you don't respond to an inquiry within 5 minutes, there's like an 80% drop in the potential chance of you catching them in terms of on a phone call or via an email than there is if you respond inside of that 5-minute period, whether that's an automated email or whatever. So when it comes down to that, it's common sense. Think about it from your perspective. Take yourself out of your business, forget your business for a moment. In fact, just keep your business there, but your own business that you own now, if you wanted a service and you went and inquired with somebody, who are you more likely to go with? The person where you submit a form, you get an automatic email which has an attached document which showcases how they can help, an instant SMS that comes through to you trying to book in a call with you or ask you any follow-up questions, or the guy that calls you 72 hours later. The answer is the one that comes to you quicker. You know it already. So you already know that automation can help your business do exactly that to other businesses or to other potential customers. So yeah, sit down, look objectively, and I mean this, put pride to the side, because that is something that I've seen. I don't know, to the listener, I'm not questioning your pride getting in the way of your business's growth. But what I'm telling you is I can tell you now that I have spoke to business owners where it's their pride that is harming their growth from their decision making. That's a fact, and I've lived it, so I can tell you that truthfully. So just think completely objectively and look at your business and just think, where are the inefficiencies? So just like one of the points, I work with a massive satellite TV company out of the US, and I automated like a whole host of individual things for them. It's an ongoing project. It's massive. They are a huge firm, huge satellite TV firm. And one of their individual elements was marketing onto their platform. And they literally had a couple of ladies, it was, that I sat down with and spoke to, who would look at a bid polling sheet and they would stare at this sheet and they would watch for overpacing and underpacing. And they would watch in real time. That was their job. That was literally what they did every day. All I did is go in there and set a threshold of when a pacing hit 90%, an alert is sent to the ladies, or if it hits 110%, an alert is sent to the ladies. And bang, they got 50 hours a week back just from that one automation. So that's an example of something that you look at in your business that you might not think is a problem, but is actually something that it's you're paying these guys 80 grand a year, 100 grand a year, or whatever you're paying them. And actually their time could be better spent focusing on something else that actually generates the bottom line, or I'm not trying to cost anyone their job, or you don't need to keep hiring that many sales reps. You can actually get more efficient with it. So yeah, there's so many examples I could run you through, but I don't want to put anyone to sleep with it. But, I'm very good at checking myself. And that's the way that I would put it to somebody. Like, I check myself a lot. Like, are you doing things right? Is this the most efficient way? Is this the right way to approach this particular task? And I think some people aren't brave enough to do that. Again, might be contrarian, but I don't think some people are brave enough to challenge themselves. I don't care if you've own $1 billion business. If you've got an ego that doesn't allow you to be challenged in any way, then you're never going to be able to be as efficient as what you require. Like, as what you could possibly be, should I say. So yeah, I hope that come across in the right way. I'm just trying to encourage you that don't be scared of it. Lean into it and it will help you. Trust me.
Yeah, so that's great advice for leaders, especially. So let's talk about like people who are non-technical or teams within an organization who realize that AI and automation, like the two ladies you were just speaking about, maybe they heard from someone like, "Hey, I can automate that for you really easy," but they can't get the ear of the decision makers to actually jump and make that decision. What advice can you get to people who understand these tools or at least done a little bit of research and like they're trying to get buy-in higher up the food chain within their organization? I'm sure you've come across from people in your comments all the time talking about that. Like, man, I wish my leadership would listen to you or something. Can you just talk about and give any advice you can to folks in that kind of position? Because I've been there. I've been the low man on the totem pole, and just seeing like how you can convince folks above you to embrace these tools.
I mean, the problem here is that you don't have the authority, of course, which is a very difficult position to be in. I would like to think that I wouldn't be in a role where my hierarchy didn't listen to me, like at least take heed to what I was saying. So it's very difficult for me to do this because you also don't have the authority to go and build it yourself, because you can't just change the company procedures and policies on your own. You need the hierarchy approval. What I would say in answer to this is that if you're in a position inside of a company and you can see that automation is required and the company is not listening, you pitch it to them properly. You push it. You try and ensure that you do your research, do your analysis, find examples. There are many research studies, cases. Send them a YouTube video, right, of somebody who automates, who live builds something that saves time. Do whatever it takes to try and get them to listen to you. And if they don't listen to you, quit. And I am so bullish on this now, right? Because you having that foresight of automation, of knowing what you could do, you could go to every other business in your industry, automate that thing that you needed automating, and you could sell it to them and make 50 times your salary. And I'm a massive advocate of using the AI wave to become an entrepreneur. So I'm not saying throw your bosses under the bus. I'm saying if they're digging their head in their sand and they will not listen to you, and you know that this is a solution, in your own time, go away, make.com, N-A-N, build these flows. You can build them with Google Sheets. Don't obviously not the company data. I'm not telling you to do that. Take the process of what you know it to be, build it, or pay someone like me to build it for, if it's a small automation, it'll be relatively easy. Build on it yourself and go and take it and run with it. Because I am a massive advocate right now that there has never been a bigger opportunity to be an entrepreneur than there is today. And if your boss isn't listening to you about AI inside of your company, then I would just quit. But I also understand that I am very there is not like risk averseness is not something that like falls into my sort of arena, and I understand not everybody is the same. But I mean, you can't make somebody listen to you. So how do you go about that? Like, you can only go to them with documentation and information, and if they're not taking it in and not listening to you, you're stuck. And at that point, I would I would be looking at implementing that automation for myself, knowing that it would if it's a problem in that company, it's a problem in every other company. So you know that you've got a working automation that you can sell.
Yeah, that's great advice. And again, use these tools to empower yourself. So use Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT to figure out, I know this specific thing. I know it can be automated. Please help me. How can I sell this to leadership above me? Those sorts of things. But like you said, if leadership is closed to those ideas, it's probably not an organization you want to be a part of, anyways, because they're going to be crushed by the competition if they don't embrace these tools. I'm very much of the, I've always been in my career asked for forgiveness, not for permission. If I know I'm doing the right thing, if I do my due diligence, if I know I've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, I'm just going to do it. And then I'll deal with the repercussions. And generally, like, that's
Love that.
lots of times you're throwing your boss under the bus, but like if they don't listen, that's nothing you can do about that. And then let the cards where they may. Obviously, if you have kids and you're worried about their, paying for tuition and those sorts of things, you can't be as brazen as that. But I think, again, learn these tools, upskill yourself, and like fill that void within the market space. If you have
Yeah,
an
'cause
idea for that business, go for it.
you've hit the nail on the head, and I love that. I love that about you as well. Like, that's great to know, because like I would also be the same. I'd be very bullish if I knew it was the right thing, and that's the way I think what's right's right and what's wrong's wrong, and that's it. There is no in between. Like, there is never a grey area. There's always something right to do, and if automation is right for your particular project, make sure that they're listening. But there's three things that kill people when it comes down to like entrepreneurship and implementation of these things. So let's just for a second walk through that door and say that they're not listening to you, right? Or even if they are listening to you. But these are the three things that I hear from people. Like, I'm not technical. That's what I hear. Like, I'm not technical. I can't build this. Neither was I, right? Yeah, I saw my first job was in retail. I sold caravans, which is why I went double back, like, eventually. But this isn't coding anymore. It's like Lego. You're connecting blocks. If you can use Excel, right? If you have ever used a Google Sheet, if you've ever, you know, ensured that like email alerts are set up somewhere, like, connecting your phone like to Gmail, logging into this stuff, trust me, you can use no code platforms, right? Easily. You can use make.com. So simple. Perfectionism. Everyone's over engineering a flow. Don't think that it has to be this crazy thing. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I've sold flows for 10 grand that have like 5 nodes in them. It took me 15 minutes to build. Like, literally. And because you're not selling value proposition, right? Sorry, you're not selling time. You're selling value proposition. It's what time does it save that company? You don't pay me for the time that I spend on it. You pay me because I know how to fix it. That's the same reason why you pay your plumber if you have a problem in your bathroom, right? But don't engineer it. Don't think that you're in that position. I've made 500,000 on the Upwork platform, right? So as a freelancer, you could go and freelance these things. My first Upwork applications were embarrassing. I'm sure if I went back and looked at them, I'm sure they were. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I focused on delivering value, and I became a top 1%er anyway. And that's like, when people say that to me, I really want to just drill it into them. Like, yes, your business needs AI. If you're a business owner, if you're somebody that's and you're neglecting it, you're going to regret it. If you are in a weird space, maybe where you're in between jobs, or you're not happy in your job and your role, and you see AI as an opportunity, but you're worried that you're not technical enough, trust me, I am not technical. I'm just very good. I'm an architect. Like, I can look at something and I can see where something is broken and how it, and obviously business experience does help with that. And then the final one, analysis paralysis. Everybody has it with everything. How many people listening to this podcast or in the world today are telling themselves that they're going to go to the gym in January and they're going to lose some weight? What percentage of them go? And it's exactly the same thing when it comes to business. Everybody thinks about this. You're researching your 50th AI tool this week, like that you're gonna do. Stop, pick one, build something, learn by doing. For teams trying to get that, I think that if you can't pitch them on money, then your boss won't listen to you. So I think that's
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, I say it all the time. Shut up and build, right? If you ask any musician, if you ask any, any film director, if you ask any writer, you ask any YouTuber like yourself or podcaster like myself, the first episodes, the first time you did it, you go back and you cringe. You go back and look at those first, but you took the first step. You started the momentum. And then it's literally from that point, it's all habit. Just habit. Stick with it. It's going to get better. You're going to get better at it. And like, again, starting with those simple automations and building upon that, I think it's so good to get that momentum. And this is not just with yourself individually, but internally with your own organization. A lot of these organizations move really, really slowly, but the beauty is you have control at a smaller scale in your team. You don't have it with your team, you have it with yourself. You can automate your job and to make yourself more effective, to make you a rising star within your organization, even if the people in your team aren't listening to you. And so just know that there's really no excuse at the end of the day, because again, if you get a roadblock now, you have your phone, you can open up ChatGPT, you can open up Gemini and say, I've got a roadblock. Here's my role. Here's my LinkedIn. Here's my work history. What can I do over the next 6 months to revolutionize my workflow? And these will give you a pretty good roadmap to do that. And you can just start down that journey. And again, that's Start Small, Think Big is the name of this podcast, because that's literally all it takes. Like Michael, I was a systems architect. A systems administrator to a systems architect, now a solutions architect, where I'm looking at the overarching picture. I'm not a top 10% developer by any stretch of the imagination, but I know how the pieces fit. And like, I love that you use Legos because I love Legos, as you can see behind me. But that's literally all you're doing now, and it's going to get easier and easier and easier. And what I like to do is I do things modular. So even if you do have this big complex idea, break it down to 10 different steps, and you just build one step at a time, and you pick and choose which one makes the most sense. And that's just really the way you get started, and the way you should really do everything to begin with, because that gives you more data points to capture from, that gives you more error, more redundancy and those sorts of things. So it's about building that momentum through the small wins.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And if I could just finalize that segment about, because with the question, I don't think I gave 100% of an answer when you mentioned, like, if you're inside of a company and you want to become the MVP, if you want to become the Jalen Brunson of the Knicks, like, what do you do? Well, this is how I would go about it, because this is how I pitch it to clients. So pain point, what's frustrating, repetitive, and slow? Explain that to them. Then it would be AI and automation fix the specific tools and workflows. You could just do some Googling. You don't have to be technical, as I just said. You can literally just piece something together and say, hey, this is how other businesses are doing it. A great way to make somebody be scared, or like, not scared, not the word I'm looking for, but you want your boss to feel FOMO. So the best way to do that is to show them someone else doing it, right? And if you can do that, then you're laughing. But find that, but then always put your pitch in terms of AI, and this is for business owners or employees trying to level up, always pitch your AI integration with an ROI estimate attached to it. Never ever do it without. So it takes me, you pay me £100,000 a year, or we pay, our salary is this, right? Sorry, our overheads in terms of salaries is this. Well, this is what we pay salespeople. If we can reduce the time that they spend and have 3 less people on that job and convert at a 15% higher rate, what's that number? Put that number in front of the boss and watch their reaction change, because the time saved and revenue recovered is different. Yeah. Pick the highest impact, lowest risk item, build it, show results, then pitch the next one. That's what I would say. But yeah, I feel a bit of pain in there, because I've been that guy where the higher ups haven't listened to me. And like, the best thing I ever did is just say, do you know what? I'm gone. And that was it. So
yeah, empower yourself and use these tools to upskill yourself to get a bigger and better job than you ever could have understood. Hey, here's my role. I want to upskill and move on to a new position in 6 months. This is my ideal job. Like, what can I do to bridge that gap? And use these tools. You have the world at your fingertips. If you're listening to this podcast, you have the world at your fingertips. Obviously, there's people all around the world who don't have the equal power that we do. But if you're listening to this podcast, you have access to YouTube, which has access to all the information you could ever need. You can take Harvard courses in your underwear at night at home for free, because they're on YouTube. Same for Stanford and all those things. So really no excuses. If you're listening to this podcast, I think you're probably the type of person that knows that to begin with. So just know that. Again, I think our overall goal is to let you know, that to empower you to encourage you to go do this yourself. And so we can kind of like pivot as we close out here. Let's talk about your YouTube channel and your content and what's next for you from that perspective. are you able to keep up while you're running your businesses? And again, I'm sure you utilize AI and automation tools to do this, but keep up with the latest and greatest. Like I remember watching your N8N version 2.0 video hours after it was released. How are you utilizing these tools to kind of help grow your channel and help come up with content?
I mean, because of business experience, it's allowed me to be able to see a lot of these bottlenecks so I understand why they are valuable, which helps me then look at what would be valuable to the viewer, I guess, would be what I would say. But in terms of what's next for me, it's with it evolving so quickly, I'm going to ensure that all of my subscribers on YouTube are on a straight road where none of the noise gets in. AI is deployed across all of my businesses. I have a holistic overview. YouTube is probably 25% of my time, like what you said, 20% of my time. But I don't need to come up with ideas because I'm constantly building AI automations or observing AI observation builds. So I see new problems. Like it's this the thing is what the my core method is like I'm improving how I delivery, reactivation, dopamine. I'm working on all of my own skill sets because there's a lot of videos. If you watch my older stuff, you'll see that it's kind of bumbling through it, whereas now it's high impact, high energy. There's all of these things to pick up, but like when it comes down to the issues again, I'd revert back to what I said earlier. I've been like, when it comes down to the issues that businesses face, they're the same issues that businesses faced before AI came. They're the same issues that businesses faced in 1998, like with the internet. It's like when, like one client had, an example, one client had 3,000 dead leads in the CRM. We built them a reactivation flow, two-way SMS, AI qualification. They recovered like 9% of that pipeline, right? And it had nothing to do with anything except for an implementation of quite a simplistic workflow. So I have ADHD. I work as hard as anybody on the planet. I can't sleep unless I know I gave 100% to the day. If I feel like like Christmas is here, like, and it's difficult for me. Like even Christmas Day, it's like difficult for me just to take my foot off the gas completely. I know it's unhealthy, and I do it. I've got daughters. Like I said, I buy back my time for my little ones. That is the only thing that I do. But for me, I want to come on podcasts like this. I want to create content and share my story. I started from nothing. I was depressed, was suicidal, so much so that my parents didn't want me to, be left alone. I came through that. I bounced back. I'm now a multimillionaire. My journey's just started. I'm 33. I've got 20, 30 years ahead of me of full steam. And if you're listening to this and you already own a successful business, you might not resonate. But if you're listening to this and you haven't got anything and you don't know where to go next and you don't understand what happens, trust me, there's a lot of things that can happen in a very short space of time. My journey started 4.5 years ago and I've made millions in that time. And it all happened because I said, I'm going to take action and I'm not going to sit and wait. So as much as I am an AI enthusiast, as much as I am a Google Ads enthusiast, I am a you enthusiast, an entrepreneur enthusiast. And I know that you can do it. You have the power to be able to do it. So don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't, whether it be AI, whether it be anything else. If you take anything from me from this podcast, forget the AI stuff, forget all of that, forget my sob story about how it hurt, because there's pain inside of me and it fuels me. A lot of entrepreneurs and other, like you mentioned, your circle, I'm exactly the same. I don't want to talk to somebody if I don't feel like I can get something from them, not in a negative way, in an energy way. Like I want something to bump into me, but start believing in yourself because it's never been easier to do it. And like my favorite dog's the underdog, and I always try and back them. So like that's what you'll notice on my YouTube channel. There are also a lot of videos like that. I'm watching trends around agentic workflows now, there's lots of different things, personal AI trained on your own data and all of these individual things. And I have lots of plans for these content wise and I schedule them in. But, I just always like to end my podcast by telling people that like, if I can do it, like then literally anybody on the planet can do it.
Wow, that's great. It's such a motivation, and thank you for sharing and being frank with that. Again, we say echoes much of the same things. I also have ADHD, so I completely understand. You can't really fall asleep until you're exhausted because you know you put in. And if you skip something, you're going to think about it for 3 hours as you're staring up the ceiling. So I'm very much there, and I will be working through the Christmas holidays on some things too because that's just I that's where I find my fulfillment. I'll be with my family and friends, of course, as well. But yeah, I think thank you so much for sharing. Again, Michael Elliott AI on YouTube and LinkedIn. We'll share all of those links in the show notes and the newsletter that comes out on LinkedIn. Just hit up linktree.com/digital meld and hit the newsletter link at the very top of that. Because we do want you to connect with Michael and follow his YouTube channel. I'm following that now and comment and subscribe and just get involved because he is one of the people out there. He's just doing it because he loves to do it and he loves sharing it and loves and I think it's good to return that favor to folks who are doing those sorts of things. So again, thanks, Michael, for joining us. I think as we wrap up, we'll just go into our rapid fire and wrap up. So just a few questions, just answer 30, 60 seconds, and we'll see where we go from there.
Okay.
Okay, what's your favorite automation tool right now, if you had one to recommend to folks?
And
And Aiden, I agree. Just the power of that, especially with the new version 2.0 of that, which Michael has a great video on that I've watched, and so I'll share that in the newsletter. So make sure you see the resources in the newsletter to do that. I think the beauty of N8N is it's open source. You can run it privately on your own black box, is what we say. So internally in your own organization or internally on your own laptop or PC at home, and just gives you the power and possibilities of doing really really great things.
endless API connections, this technical and endless API connections, self-hostable, no platform risk. So like N8N is definitely the most powerful. Does have a slightly steeper learning curve than Make though.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does. It's not as it's drag and drop in no code as they say, but the beauty of it is there's also tons of content out there from people like yourself who have shared great ways to get started. So, and again, the beauty too is that also all of the workflows are stored in JSON. So the LLMs are really good at writing them. So if you go chat with an LLM and say, I want to create an N8N workflow that connects to these API connectors and does this, it'll give you a pretty good starting point. Again, it won't be perfect, but it'll get you that good starting point. So yeah, great one. What's an underrated AI workflow for people today? It's just something that they could revolutionize their life they haven't really thought about.
From a business point of view, it's got to be speed to lead systems still, but it's not. It's something that people are aware of. Some people will be, some people won't be. If I was to go to one that is not as common and that I think people overlook, it's the reactivation. The way that you are sitting on, depending on the size of your business, you are sitting on millions in terms of historical inquiries that you're sending out a monthly newsletter to and doing nothing else with. Well, use AI to take what you actually discussed and they were looking for at that particular time and send them personalized email follow-ups and SMS follow-ups and watch what happens to your revenue. It will scale. So I would say that. But the one that I would probably mention that is, it's not necessarily a workflow, but it is an amazing tool and it's something that is beginner friendly, but has tremendous power is Notebook LM. Specifically, Notebook LM in general, go and have a look at some of its core features, amazing, right? But it has a podcast feature and it was a little bit gimmicky when it first came out in terms of YouTube, only in terms of YouTube, not in terms of its power, because everyone was blowing up about this use case. But if you can literally go to Notebook LM now, but 5 years worth of 10 years, however many you've got, up to a certain amount of, I think it's 50 maybe, put 5 years of annual accounts in there and let the podcast discuss it. And you will have two people that you will be discussing what they think about your progression over the years, where revenue has leaked, issues that you might have faced. And the beautiful thing about it is you can also interject. So you can interject and ask a question that puts them back on a line of trajectory of what you want to know. So they're not just waffling to one another, which they don't tend to do, but you can step in. So that's not a workflow, but it's a tool which I heavily recommend. And even personally, like just to keep yourself organized, create yourself a notebook, get yourself in there, because I do it. But that is a seriously underrated feature. I really like it. I use it a lot.
Yeah, we love Notebook LM. We preach it all the time. And what I do is I take scientific papers on AI and research that's way above my pay grade from PhDs, and I upload it and I listen to that podcast feature, and they break it down in a way that my 5 year, I'd say fifth year grade education. I'm not that dumb, but like, you know what I mean? It's like act like I'm a fifth grader, and it kind of dumbs stuff down, and it works really, really well. And the beauty again, like you said, of Notebook LM is it's a black box. So whatever data you share with it stays within your black box, doesn't go help train the models.
Exactly. And what I do in reference to that, just to show the audience and listeners that this is actually, you've just given one use case, I'll give it another. Do you know what I do? I go and scrape tens of thousands of YouTube comments, and then I put them into a PDF, and I ask them to have a conversation around what people are querying the most. What are the biggest pain points from other big YouTubers' comments? What are those issues? A little bit technical if you're not tech savvy about how you do that. But what I'm saying is a business, that's a business practical use case for me. That automatically happens, that I get the PDFs created and then I just upload them. So even that you can do. But like, yeah, what I'm saying is that it's not just something to go and play with and create a podcast out of a couple of documents. This is actually something where you can get some serious value and inspiration and ideas from. And I use it regularly. So
Awesome. Yeah. And again, yeah, we'll put the links to that in the show notes in the newsletter. Just hit up linktree.com/digitalmeld along with all the links to Michael's things as well. One more question here, Michael. Just you've been very frank about your past and your struggles. Like what's one lesson you wish you learned earlier on that maybe would have begun you on your trajectory much earlier?
The one lesson that I think I wish I'd learned earlier on, and probably like when I was really young, and what they should probably be educating in schools, never mind about anywhere else, is to focus on the 20% that actually moves the needle. The rest is, the rest is just like non-negotiable noise. Like I burned out chasing growth once, and I won't do it again. I've got two daughters. They don't care about my revenue, right? They care about my time. I struggle to take myself away, but I do have dedicated blocked out time. But the one thing that I wish I learned faster was to focus on the 20% that matters the most. And what your 20% is unique to you, but focus on that 20% and forget about the rest of it, because it moves the needle like ever so slightly. Like an example, getting a calendar update on a day-to-day basis is great, and most execs want it, and it's fantastic. It's a tool that you can sell. But if you put that up against a fully operational two-way sales AI automation flow, that's where the 20% should be as a business, because you're like, oh my God, this is like huge. It has a huge impact. This just summarizes my meetings for the day. Ooh, yeah, like that's the way that I would say that if I could have one lesson earlier, it would be to focus on the 20%, because trust me, I have gone round the gardens in my time across multiple different businesses. When in reality, I knew exactly where I should just go and look, and that's what is going to directly move the needle and what's most important to the success of a business or my YouTube or whatever it might be. Like I focus on the 20% that matters. YouTube, it's delivery, for example. So yeah, like I think that everybody is guilty of that. I don't think anybody can say that they're not guilty of. No one has 100% focus on the right thing. So I think that that's where I wish I'd known sooner, and it would have helped me a lot and saved me a lot of hours if I'd have known that.
Yeah, thank you so much for wise words, like usual. And thank you for sharing your insights and background for well over an hour at this point. And so, again, appreciate your time. Wish I could talk to you all day, but I know we're both very busy folks, and the holidays are coming up and we need to get back to our families. But again, thank you for taking the time being here. Everything we've talked about on this podcast, listeners, will be in the newsletter that's shared on LinkedIn. Nearing 500 subscribers now. So thank you for that. Hit up linktree.com/digitalmeld. The newsletter is at the very top of that. Please like and share this podcast wherever you can. And that really helps helps spread the word. Michael, I thank you again for joining us. I think I'm just going to open the floor to you for 2 or 3 minutes. Just let people know where they can find you. Again, we'll share the links to all of that within the show notes in the newsletter. And then just any parting words you want to share.
Okay, thank you. So if it's anything AI related, if your business is suffering and you need some support, like I scope jobs for free, so I'll overlook the business and scope that out for you, aitrain.co.uk, or you can just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd directly answer you there. AdTrain for any PPC related queries. If you're running PPC campaigns and you're not sure if they're optimal or not, and you want a top 1% Upwork freelancer to look at it, then you can hit me up there. But do you know what? I would just ask you to connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my YouTube channel, listen to the message that I'm giving out there, because AI isn't magic, it's leverage. The people winning aren't the ones who know every single tool. They're the ones who pick one thing, build it, and ship it before it's perfect. Build one automation this week, see what happens, grow on it. And there's a lot of businesses, a lot of individuals, a lot of people getting stuck on that. And I am trying to give that away for free. So yes, I do own those two companies. Yes, if you want me to automate your business, I can. Yes, I can manage your 1.5 million a month in ad spend through my agency. but this isn't really a pitch for me. If you take anything away from this, it's just, I don't care if your business is doing 100 million or if you're unemployed and you feel like you're in a rut. I just want you to know that you can do it, whatever your goals are. They're as big as you can think. They're as big as you can think that it'll be. That's what you can do. That's exactly what it can be. So if you want to connect with somebody who's like-minded like that and thinks in that way and spreads that message, because trust me, it's contagious, subscribe to my YouTube channel and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks again, Michael. Again, Michael Elliott AI on LinkedIn and YouTube. Again, the links to that will be on linktree.com/digitalmeld in the newsletter. Reach out anytime. Thank you, Michael, for joining us. This conversation gets better and better each week because we have like-minded folks like Michael just putting the good works out there. We like to say when you put good things out there, good things come back. And we truly believe that. And we hope that this has maybe encouraged you to start sharing your story, whether it's through a blog post, whether it's through LinkedIn post, whether it's through YouTube channel or a podcast. Get involved. It takes a village, as they say. And if we want to keep AI and automation and the power of the people, we have to keep it out of the hands of the oligarchs and the Elon Musks and the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. The beauty of this is technology is the great equalizer. And if you take the power in your own hands, you can actually change your life and your world. Maybe not the whole world, but you can actually change your world and your orbit. I appreciate Michael coming on and encouraging you to do that as we would as well. So thank you again, Michael, for joining us. Listeners, we'll see you probably within the next 2 weeks. The Christmas is coming up this week. We're not sure if we'll have release an episode next week. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
We want to hear about your AI and automation journey, and we'd love for you to get involved with Start Small, Think Big. If you'd like to participate or offer feedback, please reach out to us anytime via email at contact@digitalmeld.io or use the contact form on our website, digitalmeld.io/contact. Also, please help spread the word by liking, subscribing, and sharing our podcasts on your podcast platform of choice. Thanks.